Assalamu alaikum. So the question is, should high-income professionals, dentists, should they rent a car? Should they buy a car? Should they lease a car? My general thesis is that most professionals should either buy a car that is a few years old, a very good, reliable brand, potentially something Japanese, and then drive it for 5 to 10 years, if not longer. Run it to the ground, get all of your money's worth from that car, because if you buy a car that is a few years old, most of the depreciation occurs in the first 3 to 5 years of owning a brand new car. So if you get a car in a really good condition after 5 years, but not longer than 7-8 years, then you can get a very, very nice new car that's going to have all the nice gadgets of the last 10 odd years. It's going to have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, etc. And it's going to have good AC, and it's going to have a screen, etc. All that kind of stuff. But it means that you don't have any further payments. You own the car, there's no further payments, there's no headaches, there's no liabilities, there's no debts. Okay, overall, what you want to do is position your finances in such a way that you have minimal to no debts. And if you own the car, that's reliable, that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg in maintenance, like a BMW, for example. Yeah, they're really nice cars, but they're expensive to maintain. And buying a brand new BMW is no chance. It's a stupid financial decision, because as I said, you're going to lose so much money from depreciation. And then if you're going to buy a BMW that's 5 to 10 years old, again, maybe not so old as 10 years old, if you're going to do that, then you're going to have issues of potential failure of turbos, that kind of stuff. And that kind of stuff, maintenance and fixing on BMWs is not cheap, right? The other side is, what about leasing? Now, first of all, from a Sharia compliance perspective, leasing is permissible as long as it's a very straightforward lease agreement and there are no late fees. Now, most lease agreements, especially in the West, are going to have some form of late fees. Now, one option, I'm sure I know of some people that have managed to negotiate out the late fees, is for you to go and speak to the lease company and maybe put down a larger deposit for the car. Try to negotiate out the late fees, so at least you're not getting involved in riba. And if you're able to do that, you will be able to drive a brand new car. Now, with regards to how much should you spend on a lease car, the monthly payments should be around not more than 5% of your monthly income, and even that is a little bit high, right? So for example, if you're making £10,000 as a dentist a month, the car that you're leasing should not cost more than £500. Now, this is a fairly arbitrary marker that I've made up, right? But my ethos for that is that the whole point of getting a lease car is so that you can drive a nice new car, you don't have maintenance issues, and you can feel comfortable that you're driving a clean car that's brand new, nobody else has driven, okay? And as long as you can find a car that has low monthly payment, that's very reasonable, and obviously no late fees, etc. Now, before I left for the UK, I was driving a leased car. It was around £200 a month. I found a really, really good deal. Again, it was a beautiful brand new car. I put a lot of miles on it, and it was fantastic. I never had any headaches, never had any maintenance issues. Usually the annual maintenance, etc. is all taken care of by the company that you lease from. So yeah, it's reasonable to get a lease as long as you're not paying like ridiculous amounts of money for a lease car, okay? If you want to lease a brand new Mercedes C63 or whatever, that's only reasonable if the monthly payments are, as I said, not more than around 5% of your monthly income. If they are, then you're wasting a lot of money. I can almost guarantee you're not going to get your money's worth for the amount of money that you're spending just to drive a car that looks a little bit nicer, okay? I can guarantee you the only reason most people get Mercedes, etc. is because they look nice and they want to try and keep up with the Jones, and they want people to think, oh, he's a rich dentist. People don't give a crap about what you are doing. They don't give a crap about you. Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. Stop trying to show off to other people and live frugally. I'm not talking about being cheap. I'm saying live sensibly, live frugally, just for the first 10 to 15 years of your career, and everything that you're saving, inshallah, you can invest that. And then when everyone else who is getting really expensive lease cars and who has massive £700,000 mortgages on a 35-year plan is still grafting after 45, 50, 60 years old because they made all of these horrible financial decisions, then you are going to be work optional while they are struggling. Now, if you have the desire to drive a fast car and enjoy a beautiful luxury sports car, whatever, right? Then just rent a supercar for a day, okay? It's the most cost-effective way to enjoy a luxury car or a sports car or a supercar is to rent it for 1 day or 2 days every couple of months and do it as a treat. So you associate hard work and working hard, like selling a certain amount of private density or hitting a certain amount of bottom line revenue per month as a reward. And then you can reward yourself for that hard work by renting a supercar for 1 or 2 days. That is the most cost-effective way to enjoy supercars, and that's exactly what I do. And as I've mentioned previously, you'll be able to enjoy these supercars and you won't take them for granted. The other thing is, if you do buy a car, I definitely prefer the idea of buying a good, reliable car that you're going to drive for many, many years, that's going to be easy maintenance, affordable maintenance, and then all of the money that you're saving that you would have otherwise put towards a ridiculously expensive lease or a brand new Mercedes, etc. You're going to save all that money, you're going to invest it. So that's what I prefer. But if you are able to find a very, very affordable, very cheap lease, for example, around £200, £250 a month, etc., and you're able to find it without late fees, and you're able to negotiate the late fees so there's no riba, etc., then obviously, and if you're making more than around £10,000 a month, which a lot of the dentists in our books are, then that's not a bad financial decision. You're able to drive a brand new car, nice new, you're not going to have any maintenance issues, but be aggressive, look for deals. If you sign up to an email list for a lot of these lease companies and you get friendly with some of the individual sales guys, they will potentially send you some really, really good deals. So that's how to find some potentially excellent lease deals. Now, cars in terms of investments are extremely difficult because they depreciate so aggressively. It's very, very difficult to buy a car as an investment. Now, there are some cars, again, I'm not an expert in this field, but some cars like classic cars, maybe. But again, you have the headache of storing that huge machine, and then you still have to do maintenance. You have to ensure things don't deteriorate, and you have to keep them in climate controlled garages, etc. The other option is potentially buying a few cars and renting them out. That's an option here in the UAE. That's what a number of brothers I know are doing. Again, it's not a bad idea, but then you have to understand you have the headaches of maintenance, and rental car companies are not an easy business. People rent these cars for a short amount of time and they just abuse them. They don't look after them and they'll scratch them and all this kind of stuff, and then sometimes they won't pay for the repairs. So you have a lot of headaches associated with rental car businesses. So I think cars as an investment, I'll be quite honest with you, it's extremely difficult to find something like that where, for example, a car that's actually going to go up in value. Even if you do find a car that does go up in value, for example, I have heard, I don't know the details, but I've heard that some models of Porsches, 911s, do pretty well in terms of holding their value. But then again, you have the headache of trying to sell that car, and then even if it does hold its value, you're not going to become rich holding a car as an investment or an asset. I would personally just write off cars as an investment. There's a lot of other much better opportunities to utilize to make money from and assets to buy. If you want to be part of a private community of professionals who prioritize the ethics of investing, Sharia compliance, etc., and who are working together to become wealthy and to become work optional as soon as physically possible, then you need to apply to join our private community, the Inner Circle. It is extremely exclusive. We reject 95% of applicants if they don't hit our requirements with regards to ethics, principles, income requirements, etc. But if you're a dentist or a professional, you make at least £6,000 a month consistently, then feel free to apply and we'll see whatever we can do for you, inshallah.